Hello, guys. Hi, how are you? Hi, guys. Welcome to the show tonight. It's going down. How you doing? How you doing? Together? I was ready early, and then I ended up being late. But we're here 8:30. 8:30. I am here, ready, prepared. Welcome to the show. How are you guys doing tonight? Apologize. My neighbor dog, it seems to happen every Sunday, guys. My neighbor dog is having I don't know, but every Sunday, seems like when I'm having a show, that's when the dog decides to bark. I don't understand why the dog barking. But welcome to Let's Talk with Miss Fee. My name is Felicia. I am your host. Tonight we got few things in store for you guys. Last time we started this conversation about the Jessica and Lucas case, and that was one hot conversation for me. Um, as we dig deeper into this, tonight we have a guest that's going to be joining us. Um, learn a little bit about him. Thanks to our brother Jimmy for reaching out and for us to have. This will be the very first guest we have on this show. So this is big for us. Uh, Kudos to Jimmy. Appreciate you, man, for making that happen in such a short time. But yeah, welcome to the show. I'd like for you guys to share it. This is very, very important that we talk about these issues, especially as a platform that we are focusing on social issues that are happening specifically in Liberia and around the US and in the African or Liberian community in general. So this is very, very important. I know a lot of platforms are talking about this right now, but we just want to understand because for me, everything over here we've been talking about um, basically it's been opinions and things like that. So um, yeah. Oh my. Welcome to the show. Why I try to do my due diligence, get this thing started, and start to share. I'm gonna get the topic of, and I'm gonna put our guest speaker name that's gonna be pinned to the top here. He's gonna join the show and gonna give us some legal guidance on understanding what happened. You know, I hope eminent Liberian eminent intellect. I'd like for you to join the show tonight. So let me get on here really quick and try to get our banner started. So that way, you guys are going to see me twice on here, but I am going to mute myself from the other end so I can get my banner set. Okay, show. Great. So, here it is. How was your Sunday going? Happy Sunday. Just wanted to say happy birthday to Rev.Saye S, Pency, one of our biggest supporter of the show and giving us guidance, telling us of the is there. I love the comment section. Bless your heart. Happy birthday. Oh man, you have done a lot in your life. Pray that God continue to guide and protect you. Happy birthday, guys. If you're just joining in, I am getting our banner together. We got G-Man on. I'm gonna add you guys to the stage. Hi, welcome to the show. Let me add everybody. I'm gonna change this format a little bit so that way we can all hear you. Good evening. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. Fee, you are two times here on this.
Yeah, I'm trying to set something up on here really quick. That's why. I should be off of there really in a few minutes.
Okay. Where is Andrew, who was asking in the group about?
Hello,
Oh
buddy.
man. Welcome to the show, Your Honor.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Welcome.
Okay,
Pleasure to have you on.
okay.
I am going to get my second self off of there really quick. Just trying to get the topic up there. All right. So, how was you guys' weekend? How was the Sunday? How's everything going?
It's fine. Just cool. It's cool on my end.
It's good on your end. Nice.
Mr. Mr. Bimba is a very busy man, so we are
I
blessed
know.
to have we are blessed to
I,
have him here
I
tonight.
appreciate that. It's an honor to have you on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure meeting you for too. Meeting you too. Um.
Thank you. My name is Felicia.
Oh, okay.
Going by Miss Fee. All right. So I'm just sharing the show and I'm trying to pin the topic that we're discussing on the screen really quick and drop the link in the comment section. Hopefully, Andrew can join us in the next 2, 3 minutes. Hopefully, he's watching.
Okay. Yeah. Unfortunately, I will not be too long on the show tonight because I'm at work. As as you can
Aw,
see, yeah, I have to do some things before tomorrow, or else,
okay.
or else some of you have to find me another job.
Understood. Understood. Okay. All right. So we're
Mr.
good.
Bima, how is Jersey?
Jesse is fine. It's here.
Yeah.
All right.
How
So
is Minnesota?
Minnesota is very fine.
Let's see.
all right, guys. Welcome to the show. Um, we're gonna get started. I don't want to hold you guys up. It's just three of us, but as always, guys, please share the show. We have a guest. We're very privileged to have you on, and really excited to learn a little bit about um, Liberia in general. I know a little bit, but I don't know that much of it. So hopefully, we can learn more than a little bit from you tonight. We got our guests in the house. We got Mr. Joel Bimba. Is that how you say your name?
Yeah, that's my name, Bimba.
All right. Well, welcome to the show. And hopefully, our audience will join us because I'm not seeing anybody viewing right now. Don't know what's happening. Come on, guys. Share it. Are you able to share from your end, Jimmy? Can you hear me, Jimmy? I don't know. Can you hear me?
I'm hearing you.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Oh. I understand. You're at work. I'm so sorry. All right, let's get started. So last night, if you guys are just joining us, last night we started to talk a little bit. We were not analyzing the Lucas and Jessica and Lucas's case in Liberia, and there are, including myself, there are a few people who are very, very upset about the verdict. The perpetrator uh, was acquitted, and he is a free man walking around. And of course, I have my opinion on it, but I'm gonna say I was not too invested in the case because I didn't really follow it all throughout, but I did get a piece and bits of it. So we got our guest here, Mr. Joel Bimba, who is very, very familiar with the case and know much about Liberia justice system. He is a lawyer, and I'm not going to introduce him. I'll let him introduce himself so that way he can tell us a little bit about what happened. Like, how did we get here? So before we jump into it, could you just introduce yourself to our audience?
Okay. Yeah, my name is Joel Bimba. I'm a Liberian lawyer. Um, I live in Jersey currently, but I'm involved with civil rights investigations. I do civil rights investigations with the state of New Jersey. Just a disclaimer, I'm here as Joel Bimba. All right. And
Okay.
so, in my personal capacity as Joel Bimba. So, I moved here almost 10 years ago. I've been in the US. I'm a Liberian lawyer as well. With my wife and family here. I'm blessed with a wife and twin daughters with other kids here.
Thanks.
So that's me.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Welcome to the show. Jimmy, do you want to just say hi to the audience so that way we can jump into it?
Yeah, the name remains the same, Jamaica Zulu, and we want to welcome you to another fascinating discussion tonight. In fact, this is in continuation of our discussion tonight on the Jessica and Lucas case that have left most Liberian in shock and left a dark cloud over our judicial system. So I'm happy to be here tonight, especially with a legal mind who can help us understand some of the things that went wrong during the prosecution of this case and what could possibly be done if an appeal is to be filed with the Supreme Court accept the request or not. Those are some of the questions we'll be asking tonight, and we'll be glad to get redress from our counsel.
Okay. So basically, I followed the case for a while. So although they normally there's no published opinion, or what we know is basically what we see in the newspapers. Um, but just few things I saw when she was wounded, the very day that she was injured. I saw um,
The
she went to
video.
the police station. Um, Not only that she went to the police station, I saw that the interview one of the boys who was on the scene. He saw her at the time. The boy was able to see her, and he was able to. Um, just a minute, I beg you. Just a minute. Let me.
Sure.
Just a minute.
Yeah, I hope Rev.Saye S Pro and the other guy who were
Yeah,
asking.
I'm trying to send the link to them so that way they can join us.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm trying to find them. Let's see what this is. Let's see. I'm trying to find. I know his name. The other guy, what was his name?
Some
Um,
some
Liberian Eminence Intellectual. I think that was his name. Yeah, I'm trying to look for him because he said he would come on. So we'll see. Uh, where am I?
yeah. So Mr. Bimba is back.
Okay, I'm gonna mute you.
Yeah, I follow the different interviews. The boy who saw the incident at the time, and they even interview Lucas himself. All right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like we all know, the in Liberia, criminal cases start with the police. That's the first line of inquiry. And so mistakes by the police can have a bigger impact on the entire prosecution.
Okay.
Yeah, it can have a lot of consequences. Any mistakes they may at that preliminary stage, it may affect the prosecution of the case of the person. It could go either way. So, and then the case went to trial. Now, usually when it goes to trial, that means you have a prosecutor who is there, and that prosecutor represents the government of Liberia. So this case was a criminal case. All right. It went to trial. And what I read in the papers is that the judge said there were no sufficient evidence. All right. Although when you look at it, it was not a case, in my opinion, it shouldn't be a case of insufficient evidence. All right. Because when you look at the video, you look at the interviews, there was so much that in a very normal or stable environment, you would get that. But the judge said there was no sufficient evidence. Now, the challenge is our justice system is almost like the US. You have the prosecutor. So whenever there's a crime committed, the prosecutor represent the person who is the victim, but it's representing the government library because whenever you commit crime against the state. So it's usually the government of Liberia versus that person. So the lawyer from Ministry of Justice, whoever is appointed, will be the one going to court. Then you have the defense lawyers. The defense lawyer will be on the other side. They will be defending this particular client or the defendant. Now, when the case go to court, the judge will listen to both sides of the argument and be able to make a decision. Now, the duty of the judge does not look at the video that you see outside there. So those are things that people need to understand. The things that we look at and say, those things are things that need to be considered. Judges don't look at those things out there. No. As far as they're concerned, that's nothing that for them to look at. The only thing that judges can look at would be what evidence both parties present before him. That's the only thing. Nothing beyond that, whether there were interviews that were conducted, whether there were other issues out there, whether there were DNA out there. The only thing that the judge will look at, the things that the parties bring before him. That means the prosecutor, whatever he brings before the judge, whatever the defender brings before the judge, that is why the judge will use to make a decision. Now, in Liberia, there are two things you can do. You can have a bench trial. Now, a bench trial is a trial without a jury. All right. It can be a bench trial, a trial without a jury. Then you can have what we call a jury trial. A jury trial means there are jury of your peers, and those jurors are selected, and they will make a determination in this case. Now, the issue of whether or not you want a jury in a case can be decided by the defendant. Now, the papers I read, it appears this case was not a jury trial. From what I read in the paper, it appeared it was a bench trial. So what it means to me, the defense lawyers in this case decided not to use the jurors. They decided to allow the judge to decide the case alone. Apparently, because they wanted to make it faster. Because if you have a jury trial, it may take longer. You have to set up the jury, do all the processes. So they decided to use a bench trial instead. Now, so I listened to the judge. He said the evidence was insufficient before him. So what it tells me is that what they carried before him was not sufficient. So there are a few questions that I've been trying to ask myself. Number one, did the prosecutor really provide zealous advocacy? Because when you are a state prosecutor, you are prosecuting a crime, you have to really, really be a zealous advocate for the law. Because as state prosecutor, you represent the Constitution of Liberia. You are trying to fight against crime. That's your role. So you don't go to the court in a very like any other ordinary lawyer. No, you go in there real fighting to make sure that you pursue the case. All right. And then you get a defense lawyer on the other side. So I don't have the case file before me because to really assess what really went wrong, we need to see the case file. But I don't have the case file. But if a judge said there's insufficient evidence, then for me, the few things as a lawyer I will be asking myself is, what did the prosecutor do? Because when there's insufficient evidence, that means there's a problem from the prosecution side. All right. Another thing I saw that it says some of the witnesses were inconsistent. Now, before witnesses can appear before the court, the prosecutor have to make a decision. You have to prepare those witnesses. The next question I will be asked as a lawyer, did the prosecutor prepare the witnesses? All right. Now, another thing I also see in this case is whether the prosecutor made the necessary objections. Now, when you try in cases, you have, like I said, you have to be a zealous advocate. Some of you, I think, have seen trials. When you see lawyers at a trial level, they are objecting. They say hearsay. There are reasons why lawyers do that. And one of the reasons why lawyers do that is because when you make mistakes at the trial level, to correct it at the Supreme Court can be difficult. That's the point there. All right. So another question is, did this lawyer, was he really pushing and really making sure he was doing his best as it should be? So those are the questions I've been asking myself, because if they say there's insufficient evidence, it means that the prosecutor and those who did the investigation did not do a good job. So, for example, all of those different video evidence that we saw in the public, what happened in the court? We don't know how the prosecutor get in the court. Because if you interview Lucas, if you were interviewed by, for example, Spoon TV or any newspaper, that's a public document.
Yes.
All right. That's a public document. All right. The people that were on the scene. Now, another thing again, another question that came to my mind, when you are preparing witnesses to go and testify, not all the witnesses you can just send to go and testify. I understand they have 9 witnesses. Now, there are some witnesses you can send to go and testify, and there are some witnesses you cannot get them to go and testify. You see? So the prosecutor need to make all those decisions. If you did not make all the decisions, then it gave the defense counsel an upper hand. Because as far as the defense lawyer is his own role there is just to sit down and listen to you and to create a doubt. That's all the defense lawyer has to do. Once there is a reasonable doubt in criminal law, whenever there's a reasonable doubt, it always works in favor of the defendant. That's the rule there. Because in criminal law, you have to make sure that the person is found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So the defense lawyer, his own role there is to create that doubt. And once that doubt is there, the judge can do nothing else either to say not guilty or to acquit. In this case, the judge decided to acquit the defendant. Now, I think all of you follow the besides that particular tip. I think you heard the tip about the lawyer making a conversation. Did you follow that? You have that video?
I follow that, but I don't have that video. Somebody else was actually showing that, and I listened to it.
Okay,
so
I can send it to you. So that's an important video, and it's a very important video we need to take a look at. And that video tells you how dysfunctional our justice system is. All right.
Right.
Now, my fellow
Mm.
lawyers in that particular video, and some of them listening may know me, actually very unethical. Number one, in a criminal case, you don't go and discuss settlement in criminal cases. We don't do that, especially in the
Right.
case of attempt murder. All right. So one of the things there is it was very wrong for them to go be discussing settlement in a case of attempt murder.
Mm.
Right.
Attempt murder in serious, very serious rule of law countries, you are out as a lawyer and you are bound forever and ever. Done deal. You can't do that. You can't go discuss settlement. And the reason is because criminal case is not a civil case. So in civil
Right.
cases, for example, your landlord tell you, say, you didn't pay my rent. You can settle. Or maybe in divorce case, you can settle. You and your husband, you decide, or wife, you decide, you can settle that. In land dispute, yes, you can go and discuss settlement issue. But in cases of attempt murder, in cases of rape, a lawyer is never to go start talking about settlement in those cases. So if you listen to those guys discussing settlement in that particular video, it's actually unethical. And I don't know how far that will go. And I expect now, very good. Let me make this point. Now, if the prosecutors indeed are transparent, independent, they are to make issue out of the video, that particular video where the defense lawyers were discussing settlement. There's so much in
Right.
that video. Are we there?
Mm.
If the prosecutor actually was sincerely prosecuting this case, that prosecutor is to automatically now try to be prosecuting these lawyers. They have to be prosecuted for what they are doing, for what they were doing. They're trying to bribe the family,
Right.
almost like, yeah, because they should serve as witnesses in the case. Because whenever there's a criminal case, the victim is one of the witnesses for the state. So you go in now to Bravo and say, oh, we can give you $10,000, if you were an accident case and whatever. That's a very big shame and actually a disgrace to the justice system. No credible criminal justice system you will ever see any lawyer doing that. Not one time to go and say they're going to talk about settlement. You don't do that. You go for trial, you go for sentencing. When you reach at the sentencing level, then maybe you want the judge to consider some other issue for your client. You can do that. But you don't do that when you have a pending criminal investigation and a pending criminal case. So it's unethical. So those are things that I see there. Now, I'm very concerned that the prosecutor, and I'm just saying, getting my own point, if the prosecutor were really independent, we'll see how they behave with what that particular audio. But from all indications, I want to know who were the other lawyers in that particular meeting. Was the prosecutor present in that meeting? Those are questions
Right.
I'm asking. Yeah, was the
I'm
prosecutor
thinking he
present?
was.
Yes. That's what I believe. Because up
Yeah.
to now, I've not heard the prosecutor making any comment. If I'm a prosecutor on that case and I'm really firing and I get that particular audio where the defense lawyer is discussing, right after that tape is out, I'm out the next day. We're making a very big case out of it. I'm filing a disciplinary something with the Supreme Court of Liberia, and I'm taking strong measure. But have you heard any of those things happening now? You are not
No.
hearing that.
No.
So what it tells you, it suggests to me it was a compromised prosecution. In other words, the prosecutor compromised the case. He created a scene where the evidence will be weak, so that at the end of the day, the judge will find an insufficient evidence. So for me, in my opinion, it was actually intentional from what I believe. My
I
opinion,
agree.
yeah, it was very intentional, and I'm basing that on the audio we just got recently telling us that people had tried to even compromise the case. Another thing again, they interviewed the girl mother, and she also said even the people that representing us trying to compromise the case.
Yes.
Wow.
She said that,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, she said that, and nobody else representing her other than the prosecutor. You see, so we hope the judiciary committee in the House and the Senate, that's their role. They should be taking serious measure, calling for real investigation in the cases. They should really be calling for real investigation, because it's actually a shame. And to be frank with you guys, it broke my heart when I saw that girl in the video and
Me
she was
too.
crying. it brought tears to me. I don't know about other people. That should shake any country, in my opinion. It would shake anybody. And anybody who's really a lawyer and really know what the law should be, it should shake your heart if you listen to all that has happened.
Thank you so much for that. And yesterday when we decided to talk about this case, that was something that kept playing in my mind. Was like, I'm not a lawyer, but I watch a lot of ID and all these investigation stuff. So putting one and two together, I know I was hoping another gentleman will come on in here, because yesterday he was very adamant that it was not, we didn't know anything that was going on, and I'm like, it doesn't, I don't know. Yeah, you should be a lawyer to understand the system in Liberia, but I mean, like, just looking at everything and hearing everything, it just doesn't make sense to me. But I know our co-host Andrew, he does have questions that he wants to ask, just in case if you allow us a few more of your time, if that's okay.
Okay, good evening, Council Bimba.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry for joining late because I was caught in the middle of something, and I can't appear on my camera because my background is not okay tonight. So I'm behind the camera. But thank you again for joining us, and thank to Comrie, my brother, from the panelist Jimmy, for bringing you on tonight. We hope that you find time most of the time, if you have the time to join our show here, because we discuss a lot of related issues when it comes to family issues that have to do with legality and other stuff. Like us, we are not legal experts. We are not marriage counselors, but we discuss things based on our opinion and how we see things, and proper pieces of advice, so those out there, so they can take it from us. But thank you for joining us, Bimba. Okay. And the issue of this Jessica and Locust issue, for me, we've been following it back, and then, and like I said, I made a podcast the last time when it initially happened last year, September, and I condemned the entire situation. Coming now is they started already, and the guy, was acquitted, and they heard the case, and he was acquitted. They gave him a non-guilty verdict on him. But last night I read up something from a journalist perspective who was in the courthouse. One Richard Watson, he had been in the courthouse following the case from the onset of the case, and he came up with his opinion, what he observed, and which we read here last night. And just when I came in, your similar thing you were talking, that the witnesses gave contrary information to what that were provided to the police, but when they got before the court, the judge or the judges, they gave different information. So if I may ask you, Joel, tell us, you as a legal luminary, you understand the system in Liberia. You graduated from the Louis Arthur Grant School of Law. You went in the US to Penn State, I think somewhere, and got a little profile, and you got your law degree, whatever. And from what you just said to me, I believe that you understand the entire situation. Brother, tell me, do you sense, with what you explained, did you sense anything of foul play in that whole case? Is anything of foul play?
I think he just said
Yeah,
that.
it is a compromise prosecution. So, like, you make a very important point, and that point that the witnesses, they said they were inconsistent, they were saying different things. And the question I'm asking here is, did the prosecutor prepare the witnesses? All right. So when you are a lawyer, you go to court, you have to do what we call zealous advocacy. Are we there? Now,
Right.
and if you listen to the audio tape, have you listened to the audio tape with the lawyer discussing giving her $10,000? Did you?
No, I didn't
I
listen to
did.
that. I didn't
Okay,
listen
I
to
think you
that.
need to listen to that. So the defense lawyers were discussing with the client and other people, trying to offer them either $10,000 or $20,000 to waive the case. That's on audio, and their names have been called.
So from getting that,
I just
okay.
coming. Then the mother was on how to call it, OKFM, telling her that her lawyers, now she doesn't understand that her lawyers are the prosecutors, are
Right.
even trying to compromise the case.
Wow.
You get that point there? You get that point? So there are
Yeah,
two
getting
things
there.
there. So it suggests to me the prosecutor was compromised. Now, if the prosecutor want to prove that he was not compromised, then the recent audio with the defense lawyer discussing with the people
With
trying
the
to
press.
get $10,000, that should be prosecuted. That should be
Yeah.
prosecuted. So the
Right.
next day you see the prosecutor automatically, he should be calling for a meeting. He should be filing complaint with the ethics board of the Supreme Court against those lawyers, because under the ethics rule, you cannot be discussing with another party who is represented by a lawyer. You don't do that. And then in a criminal case, have you ever heard having settlement discussion in a criminal case? No.
No.
I think no, you can do that. Having
You
settlement
can't
or
do
criminal case, you can do that.
Yeah, all of that happened in this particular case. And up to now, you have not heard the prosecutor talking. It has been almost 2 days, the tape have been out. Think about it. I just want you to think about it.
So that means the prosecutor was compromised.
The old lady was on OKFM. She talked about the prosecutor trying to compromise the case indirectly. That's what she said. And you heard the defense lawyer trying to get the family $10,000 US. It's on audio. So you make the conclusion. It was a compromised prosecution. So if I'm the prosecutor, I can make you lose a case or win a case. If I don't put a strong fight, you can lose the case. You can lose the case.
Right.
All right. So from what I'm seeing here, it was a compromised prosecution. And in a serious criminal justice system, the prosecutor will be out by this time. You are all fired, or they're going to have serious issue with you. All right. But I want to see what would be the prosecutor action after the tip came out. The prosecutor has a role here. If he's really serious, that he was doing a very genuine job, he will not compromise, the prosecutor has to be able to address the tip that came out.
So, all right, Mr. Bimba, thank you very much. I think you really brought a lot of understanding, of the matter on the platform tonight. And I want to thank you for that. Thank you for taking up your time to be here and make things clear to our understanding. I have two questions.
Mm-hmm.
With the audio tape of settlement, what could possibly happen to the prosecutor if he doesn't do the needful, if he doesn't do what is supposed to be done with that audio? And then my second,
let's read it one by one. So prosecutor get certain immunities. All right, that's one thing about being a prosecutor. Prosecutor have immunities, very strong immunity. You see prosecutors, you see police officer. In the U.S., they have revisited that after George Floyd case. How do you call the guy case? What is the name? The guy in Minnesota.
George Floyd.
After his case, they have revisited that case. If you follow even the case with Armor Borey in Georgia, that black guy who was walking, running, and he died. The press very good, and they killed him. Now, so prosecutors have immunities. What does that mean? That means they cannot easily be prosecuted.
Okay.
So this is why a good prosecutor, you have to be able to do your job and do it to the best of your ability. So one of the things some prosecutors have honor is because they have that immunity, they sometimes just do whatever they want to do because they realize that they cannot easily be prosecuted. So that's one issue here. You see? So the one thing that can happen from a political standpoint, and I'm using the word political standpoint, is the government of Liberia fire the prosecutor, let him off the hook. You can do that. Or the prosecutor can be investigated based on the information that the mother released. You can talk to the mother, the lady who the lady, what the lady, they were on OKFM. She made a point. If they can investigate her, you can talk to her, and ask her, say, hey, were the prosecutor in that meeting when you were talking about the settlement? Was he there? I'm very sure she will be able to release the information if somebody really sit with her, investigate, and give her that kind of protection and confidence. Because now she doesn't have any confidence. There's no confidence.
Yeah.
There's no confidence. She feels exploited. The system exploited her. That's how she feels now. You see what I'm talking about? So if you get somebody credible to talk to her, she will release some information. We may even know whether the prosecutor in that money in that particular meeting. We may know whether some of the prosecutors were there. Now, if the prosecutors were there, then you can take up the issue with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court can either decide to suspend the prosecutor for 3 years. The Supreme Court can decide to disbar him. He can't run away from that, because if he ever took any money in the process, if he ever tried compromising, in other words, he tried to make sure that money will change and other things, yes, he has to go. That is if and only if you have a serious response by the government.
Okay.
Those are the options for the prosecutor there. But he has the prosecutors have a lot of immunity. So that is why when I'm hearing in this case, there was insufficiency of evidence, considering all of what we have seen, and what we know public. Let me just make you to understand. It's almost like George Floyd case, the guy in Minnesota. That was a public case, and everyone saw it. And you saw that?
Yes, it was.
Now, I'm not saying there are certain things that can happen in public that may necessarily not be able to survive the technicalities in courtroom. There are things that can happen publicly that will not be able to survive the tech. Because in courtrooms, you have what we call the rule of evidence. The rule of evidence is very strict. All right, we get hearsay rules. We have different rules on how to admit evidence. So some of the things that you can see public may not necessarily be admitted in the courtroom. But in the case of this girl, I saw the interviews. Now, if you were interviewed by a journalist, that document become a public document, and you can get it. That can be admitted in court. So did they admit that? Was there any discussion? But I want to know. Now, people went on the scene. What happened to the knife? The knife that was used, the object that was used, because there was a lot of crowd there. What happened to that?
The murder weapon.
Yeah. What happened to the knife? The boys that were involved, they said the boys that they said were inconsistent. Now, did somebody threaten those boys? Were the boys threatened? Did anybody visit them at night and say, hey, when y'all go to the court, we'll give you 5,000, we'll do this for you people? That's Liberia, my people. This is Liberia. Did anybody do that? And if you get a true investigator and go and talk to those boys, you are going to get so much information. A lot of things will happen. A lot of things may have happened behind the scene. And why am I saying this? I'm saying that based on the audio tape where the lawyers were trying to give $10,000 to compromise an attempt murder case. Anybody listening to me? Just listen. Just think about that. Where have you seen that happening? Think about that. Think about that. Where have you seen that happening? Think about that. That's a minute. Think about that a minute. Where do you see that happening? Attempt murder, rape. Where have you seen that? You go see the defense lawyer saying that. You don't do that. You don't do that. Exactly. So
if you suspect and you believe in your mind, you're thinking that there was something we call maybe a foul play within that case, and it had to do with the tempering of the prosecutor or by the defense counsel. But my concern here, because if anything's happening around there, the defense counsel and the prosecuting counsel both might go into collusion. But again, the judge who is hunting down the case, are you also suspecting that he's part of this quote-unquote collusion, if there were any?
So that is a very important question. And to be frank with you, the judge has a role in the case. Now, normally, And again, you know, in Liberia, our trials are not really public. All right. They're not
Right.
public. Under the rules of court in Liberia, they don't allow you to publicize the case. Although I think that there's a need to reconsider that rule. All right. I understand why that rule is in place. And one of the reasons why that rule is in place, people believe that the case can be sensationalized and it will affect the rights of the accused. But I also believe there's a need for accountability in some of the cases. Because if this trial was public, there are so many things that we were going to be able to see there and know. Especially if you are a lawyer, you will see so many things and know. Because when a judge is handling a case, there are just certain things that judge need to do. Was he doing it during this trial? And a smart lawyer can know that the lawyers you can raise an issue. Have you seen lawyers raising a case that, oh, I don't want the judge to sit on my case? Have you realized that before?
Yes, there was a case. There was a case. There was. I don't know if you.
Exactly.
Did you see the Casey Anthony case?
Right.
They always, they ask the judge to recuse himself.
Exactly so.
Right.
You see, in the recent case, in the case in Georgia against Trump, and you also the case in Georgia against Trump.
Yes.
The prosecutor there is having a sexual relationship with one of the guys that is involved in Trump case. You see what I'm talking about? And because of a relationship with that particular guy, that case has not been able to move forward. The judge have to have a hearing. You see what I'm talking about? He has to have a hearing to make a decision whether or not the prosecutor should be able. It has a conflict of interest.
Yes.
And that case is becoming a very big case in the rule of ethics for lawyers. See, now if you look at that case, in her case, what you see there, she's arguing that she started a relationship afterwards. That's the argument she's trying to raise here. Now the judge said, hey, that okay, although you started afterwards, but what we need to do, if their case have to move forward, that means that guy cannot continue to be the guy on this particular case. The guy she's involved with. You see? So in the case in Liberia, when you have a judge that's compromised, a real seasoned prosecutor have to raise issue if the judge is not really doing something that need to be done.
Okay.
You see? So the burden is still on the prosecutor in this case. The burden is still on the prosecutor. If the judge were not asking certain question or you are filing certain motions and the judge were not really listening to you or objecting to your motions, all those things. But we do not know because the trial was not public. Now, I listened to the journalist. I read his article, but I don't know how well grounded he is in the law. But you have to look at certain things. So the judge behavior in the court, whether he are asking certain questions, whether he will be able to really push certain things, witnesses, we don't know. As far as we know that, the witnesses were inconsistent and what this and that, and that's it. But to be frank with you, the prosecutor and the defense now, those two individuals need to be thoroughly investigated. And why do I believe so as a lawyer? Number one, the tape that were released. And second, the testimony of the mothers who have been meeting the prosecutor over and over. She said, even the people she told, the journalists, I want to see a lot of things, but I can say on this particular
platform
station.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
You get that?
Yes.
So in a very sound judicial system or justice system, don't people be investigated. In fact, the Bar Association is not going to joke with that. We're proactively. You want to take decision now.
So, Mr. Bimba.
Yeah.
My next question is this: without the prosecutor moving to make issue with the audio, does the bar has a role to play in that, or
to be frank with you, the disciplinary, when you have a complaint, they have a ethics board with the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court is the only body that can discipline lawyers. All right. So they will set up a committee. When you file a complaint with that board, they will set up a committee, and that committee will be the one to investigate that particular lawyer. So that's how it happens. All right. And then even the bar association also can report misconduct, because when I'm a lawyer, if I see something wrong under the ethics rule, if there's something in violation, a lawyer doing something wrong, yes, I can report it. That's why lawyers are considered officers of the court, because the court
Okay.
does not want lawyers before them that have questionable integrity, because it affects the court.
The system. Okay.
Yeah, it affects the court.
Okay. So
See?
my final question, because I will soon be leaving.
One important point I will make before you come in is,
Okay.
so for example, if the prosecutor messed the case now, if you have to go and retry, let's assume you want to retry how to call the guy,
Lucas.
you can retry him now on the same offense, because it will be a double jeopardy. And you see how bad you see how bad our country is.
Right.
Any lawyers can tell me they don't know what they were doing. I don't agree, and and if anybody can disagree with me, but if you have these two things, I want you to just look at it objectively.
Yeah.
Consider this girl to be your relative,
Mm-hmm.
and consider all of these facts. And you are the jury now to make a decision. Wouldn't you want to know something further about this case? Listening to the defense lawyers and trying to compromise the case.
I definitely would. I
Yeah,
definitely
wouldn't
would.
you want to?
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody will make it on. Nobody will try to make it look like, okay, in court. No. This was a case that a serious prosecution, brilliant lawyers would have outsmarted that long ago. It wouldn't have been a case of insufficient evidence.
Definitely.
Except the lawyers not up to the task. You see?
Okay.
Right.
So the only remedy we get now, the remedy we get for Lucas now, if in the diaspora, Lucas could be prosecuted in the U.S.
Right.
So like yes, he could be prosecuted in the U.S. So he could be prosecuted in the U.S. The law that was used to prosecute Chucky Taylor,
Okay.
that law can be used to prosecute this guy. So Liberians in Iowa need to petition the prosecutor in Iowa where he lived, the federal prosecutor, because it cannot be the state prosecutor.
I agree.
In transnational crimes, the federal court will have jurisdiction over the kind of cases. Yes. All right. So you can prosecute, and they can prosecute, because under that law, when you are a U.S. citizen or a resident in the U.S. who have committed torture in a foreign country, the U.S. Federal Criminal Court can have jurisdiction over you. So Liberians in Iowa need to be able to petition the federal prosecutor in Iowa and giving all of the videos and getting all of the evidence. And I challenge you. And when he see it, he's going to file charges, and you will see what will happen. You get good results from at the end of the year.
Let me go with another.
I was thinking about that last night. I was definitely thinking about that last night.
That is a big eye opener,
But
Right,
I want extradite him. There's no way you can extradite Lucas. If he's here now, you can't make it to get him back to Liberia. Not at all. Not gonna work.
Okay.
Right.
So Bimba, let me it's interesting, though you might not have much time to be here tonight, but I think we need to run another series on this one, the next weekend or so. I think it's so interesting to give an eye opener to what we discuss in here. And Fee, I want you to also look at the comment. There are some questions in the comment section.
Right. I just wanted to give a few minutes. Yeah.
But I want to go back to Joel. I mean, you gave me an eye opener as it relates to Lucas and Jessica, and you said, well, he's in the U.S. He cannot be extradited to Liberia to be prosecuted, and he cannot be prosecuted again for the same crime back in Liberia.
Right, I said that last night.
Given the circumstances involved in the whole thing, public outcry, and if you see some of the comments, people are saying the judiciary system, the law in Liberia is weak, and that kind of a thing. You as a legal mind person, and you understand some of the legal system, both Liberia and the US. Looking at the judiciary system of Liberia, do you think we need a reform in our judiciary system? Because take example, when cases go to court, it drags in the court, and it's a tendency that people say that, well, the rich person or the rich people will always get justice as compared to the poor people. Do you believe that? And if no or yes, how can we strengthen our justice systems in Liberia? given all of the circumstances?
There's a big topic, man. I don't know. The reform too, we've been talking about it forever.
Right.
It's we've been talking about it forever. The institutions are dysfunctional. The courts, for example, lawyers have to be paying sheriff way. You pay the court sheriff. Lawyers in Liberia can pay the sheriff way, can get the court clerk small money, so they can pay their way to buy paper sometime.
Wow.
Now, think about that. When you're doing that in a court, in a justice system, technically, you are not to even be having the kind of discussion with the court clerk and all those kind of thing, especially when there's a matter before the court. No, you don't do that. But that happened in Liberia for common. You pay the sheriff way, you do this for the favor for this person, you buy paper and all those kind of things. So that just tell you the kind of, those basic things. Even to the police station, you have to sometimes pay for paper for the police to write. Think about that. Think about that.
Wow.
You pay sometimes, for police to write. Sometimes they don't have stationaries. Think about that. Anybody can think about that. All right. Some of the the guys who investigate the cases really don't understand what they are doing. They mess up the cases. One of the famous cases, and at the time I was just in law school, and it really broke my heart, was the case of Inja Topa. And you follow Inja Topa case? Inja Topa was a rape case. Hans William was a perpetual defender in that case. Go and find our opinion. That's an opinion. I think I like any Liberian to win. Go back or go on laborlead.org. It's an important opinion. And I still cry for that lady who died with no justice. And what happened in that case? It was an issue of
and they even went forward by assuming about it.
They messed the whole system up, and she suffered. That opinion, a lot of people, but I like to read that opinion over and over. There was so much I learned from the justice who wrote that opinion. So much. So criminal cases in Liberia. So when you're talking about reform, it's more than a reform. You need real to take it by the horn. You need to really change the system and do a lot of work. Another bigger part of the problem, they will even recruit people to work in the system. There's no real serious background check. People can just take people, they know them because they, this and that. There's no competitive process. To be a prosecutor, sometimes people just pick you up. Oh, yeah, the man a lawyer. Nobody checking all those things. No competitive process. So whether you're really strong, whether you can really do this job, nobody, as far as people concerned, is the man is good to do the job. No competitive process. No background check. No nothing at the time. Conflict of interest rules. Who is there checking some of the cases? Conflict of interest rules. No, not many persons that checking conflict of interest rules. So many things can happen in the system. So many things can happen in the system.
Yeah,
all right.
Why are you in a mood of keep answering these questions and providing your opinion and your expert opinion on this subject matter? The issue of Lucas and Jessica, I think it has something to do with a complete domestic violence or violence against a person, and if you look at domestic violence cases in Liberia, where women and children have been affected the most, rape cases, especially young children under the age of 3, 2, and they are killed, they are raped, and then they die, all that kind of stuff. So if you notice in most of the cases, criminal cases, especially when it comes to domestic violence cases, they are actually swept on the carpet. You think in your mind, as a legal mind, what is actually the problem when it comes to that, especially on the issue of domestic violence cases, where when they go prosecute, because I thought they had a fast track case or court to be able to do fast track rape cases in Liberia, but nowadays I think it is not functioning again, and people are going with impunity, especially the perpetrator. As a legal mind, what do you think we can do? You talk about the reform, you say you need more than reform, but what interim mechanism can we put into place? I say we as Liberians, can we put into place that will save women and children when it comes to domestic violence issue?
Let me give you some practical examples. So I used to lecture back at UMU. I used to teach sociology there. I taught sociology and criminology. And in one of my classes, I had a student who told me, he said, Brother Joel, I had this guy.
Yeah, your face is so familiar to me. When you talk about UMU.
I thought your face. I was there for a long time.
Your face is familiar, even though I was not a student there. But I think I knew you somewhere more. But we'll discuss that one later.
Yeah. So, and this is what she told me. She had this brother-in-law who was molesting his daughters. That's incest. And that the sister, they tried to address the case, but the sister could not report. And here's what the sister said she could not report. Guess what she said? When they took the man, the few time they take the man, no food for the children. No support for the children. So when it came to real time to really do the prosecution or whatever, because you need to get witnesses to appear. If she decides not to appear or something, it compromises a lot of things involved in there. You see what I'm talking about? So it's not just about the actual prosecution of the person as well, but it's the social service side of the system. Because in most of the domestic violence cases, the victims are people who do not have the means. They don't have it. They hardly can eat. They can't afford to pay the rent. And the person who is the perpetrator often is a family member with some financial or some influence. You see what I'm talking about? So while we need to restructure the legal side of things, we also need to work on the social service system. When a case starts, are there services there for the wife? Are there services there for the children? What services do we have for those children? When they eat for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, is there anybody going there to provide for them? In most of the cases,
but you have the Ministry of Gender, Children, and Social Protection. That arm of government is responsible for such a thing. So,
yeah, I agree with you. I used to work with social welfare before Ministry of Health. Before it went to Ministry of Gender, I was there. I worked with there. But it's sad to say, the budget they get, when they call the budget for you, you will not even say want to believe whether they can help to address those situations. They don't have the resources. Sometimes they try their best though. Some of the cases they will take the person for a few days, but once the case is, court cases that are 2 months, not 3 months, that 2-3 years been talking about. You see what I'm talking about? You see what I'm talking about? So yeah, they have the institution there, but does the institution have the capacity to deliver? That's the question. When I work with social welfare, we had nice policies. I remember I worked on the alternative care policies. We had an alternative care policy for the children. We developed that. They tried to develop a case management system beautifully, drafted we put all our time in that. But is it working to really get it working, the system working? That's a question. All right. So that's one thing. So the social service side in these cases many times is not there. So that is why when you go to the police station, the police will end up compromising the case. In this particular case we are talking about, why do you think the defense lawyer will want to offer her 10,000 for attempting? You think that would be my daughter? You offer me 10,000? It can't work with me. I would be coming on you and really want to deal with you. But apparently, the defense lawyers here know Liberia, and they know that Jessica do not really have the income. She can easily afford the rent. So they carry settlement discussion to Jessica. Did you ever hear gender ministry getting involved there? No, you're not hearing about gender ministry there.
Someone said lawyers are not to be trusted because they all went to the Louis Arthur's Graham School of Law. They practice law together in and out of Liberia. Most lawyers are not going to be trusted in Liberia because they hang out together, they do a lot of things together, and they say your client could be my client could be your client, and they say look, and after the court case, maybe after the first time of the case, the prosecution or whatever, they go on the tree and they sit down, they discuss other legal issue, and they say look, my man, let that thing go, and people say it happens in Liberia most of the time, and so the lawyers are in the interest of of each other instead of being in the interest of their client. Do you believe that?
You raised a very good point. Lawyers are not to be trusted. I don't agree. Lawyers are to be trusted. From what I know, being in Liberia, I work here currently with the Office of the Attorney General. I work with the lawyers here. I see the way they work, the level of integrity, the level of trust.
I'm talking about lawyers in Liberia that are not to be trusted.
Yeah, I'm coming.
Let me qualify by
the problem with Liberia is we just don't have any value for ethics.
Yeah.
We do not just have any
Haven't.
value for rule of law. It's not just only lawyers. Forget about lawyers. Forget about lawyers. As a country, we have an integrity problem.
Integrity
A
issue,
real
so definitely.
systemic integrity problem. That's the problem facing the country. So it's not just about only law and being trusted. Show me how many persons you can trust in Liberia. I put it back to you. Forget about lawyers.
And personally,
Right.
honestly,
It's a
when
hard
it comes to
question.
issue of integrity,
Or anybody listening to me here, how many of you have sent money back into your family to build house for you, to do something for
you
you,
know,
try to give them
when it
business?
comes to issue of integrity, that I know, there are a lot of people in Liberia. Even when I had a whole workshop, not a workshop per se, but I went to BWR and I spoke, to the young students at BWR and spoke on integrity with few schools around Monrovia, and I went and spoke on integrity because integrity is a bedrock. Is something key in our society. So when a young guy is coming up and he doesn't have integrity, I tell you what, he gonna grow up with it. So it need to start. It's a systemic issue, the lack of integrity in our system. So once an individual doesn't have integrity, obviously there will be serious, a problem. So we need to address that issue of integrity. So we cannot just, cast the dark cloud on or party of people, but individual within the systems are the one who creating the problem. And so how can we weed them out of the system, those who lack integrity in our system? How can we weed them? Because you go with integrity and it helps you in your career development as well.
You have to enforce the laws. You have to
Right.
enforce the laws. All right. If I were the president of the Bar Association now, I'm gonna lie to you. I'm sorry the old man left. Had to call him Councilor Tiawan Gong is no longer there. There are people in Liberia who feel very few, who are very strong. They will not joke. You both saw him how they call him Mwanduki. How they call it? Mwanduki, that Nigerian guy who falsified his birth certificate and everything.
Wambudike.
Eh?
Wambudike.
Yes. And you saw what Tiawan Gonglo then did. You saw what it did. He moved on them quickly. He didn't joke, and they were able to what? They were able to suspend him or even disbar him because I don't think now he can practice law before the courts. So there are people in Liberia that are very strong, but there are not many.
Right.
And
Right.
they reward them much. That's the point. The system in Liberia do not reward people who really have the integrity, who want to really fight. That's the problem. The system do not reward those kind of individuals. John Gonglos too. People attack him. They say, "Oh, whatever." And what we saw, Bambugiri, they went after him. So here's the audio out here now about these lawyers. We're waiting to hear. I don't think it should be taking 3 or 4 days to even be making that decision. Maybe the Bar Ethics Review Committee, maybe they're sitting in the corner and trying to make a decision about what to do. Maybe. But there's a public case, So we have to enforce the rules. Being a lawyer, you have to be disciplined. You have to be
Exactly.
disciplined. That was even for you to be admitted to law school, you go through a lot of scrutiny. I'm sorry that people do you go through a lot of scrutiny to be admitted to law school. It's not easy to get into law school. Just to get into law school alone, that's so much scrutiny.
People saying that the law
graduate-
school in
you
Liberia,
graduate,
people are
eh?
going to the law school. People are going to the law school in Liberia, and that's viewed of other people because it's a quick impact area where you can go and make money quick. You get your retainer, quick. You get few clients, and then you get a monthly or quarterly retainer. That's why people are rushing into the law field. But most of them don't have passion for it, though.
Yeah. So and part of the problem is from the process of admitting people to the law school. That's the first process.
It's corrupt too.
There's no more scrutiny there. All right. People who have political
they do
influence,
take entrance. They do take entrance to
government
enrolling at the law
guys
school.
who are senators, who are whatever, who are full-time workers, they go to the law school. Will you believe somebody who is a senator, a full-time senator, a lawmaker, can he go to the law school and really study law correctly? No, he's not going to.
But the senators and representatives, they don't even have that time because they only work 2 times a week, Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah, but
The rest of
besides
the
them,
week they own other place show.
yeah, besides them, in many standard law schools, they don't just easily admit you when you have those kind of jobs easily, and you're trying to be there, especially you want to be a full-time law school student. So there's a challenge with first with the level of background check before you go to the law school. Then when you graduate, you need to be admitted, to practice as well. There's so many loopholes. And this is not only the lawyers, even the police. What are the background check doing in the police? How many background check we have in the police? To be a police officer, especially a criminal investigator, you have to go through real solid background check. Why? Because the justice system begins with the police officer.
So the problem
with the police officer.
So the problem in Liberia, in my view, and given the information you're providing, is not just only one sector of the country. It's a systemic thing. It's a situation that engulfs the entire country from all sectors. So it got to be approached from all sectors, because you can make issue because these police are part of the law enforcement agency of Liberia through the Ministry of Justice, and then if they can be compromised too as well. And you're saying even the policeman will go arrest you and tell the people where to go. He already been compromised there already. So the reform in Liberia judiciary system and all sectors, it have to be done from down the line and go across all sectors, and there's not going to be limited to it. But we are giving a case study of the Supreme Court, given the number of cases that have been going to the Supreme Court.
I will add that you have to do it consistently.
And the local court, the civil court, and they have been adjudicated in favor of the defendant. Because the prosecuting witness or person, they may not have sufficient evidence to prove, or even if they do have sufficient evidence to prove, but because they compromise the situation. You gave me the example, you said that the lawyers were communicating, talking about settlement and all that kind of stuff. Those things alone are enough to draw the line between the good, the bad, and the ugly.
So while we're on this topic, please, since we still have you on here, if you could permit us to just answer a few questions, do you mind? In the comments section, we had it really going on there. First, Rev.Saye S said, on what ground can we reopen the kids from the diaspora? There must be significant error, and I take that he didn't really listen to you from the beginning.
Okay, let me come in there. Rev.Saye S under the U.S. federal law. If you remember, Chucky Taylor was prosecuted in the U.S. And the reason why Chucky Taylor was prosecuted in the U.S. because Chucky Taylor was a U.S. citizen and he committed torture in Liberia. So once he landed on U.S. soil, the U.S. government have a statute. And that statute allowed them to exercise jurisdiction. So in criminal law and in law, one of the first things that you need to be established for a court to prosecute somebody is whether or not the court has jurisdiction. So if you look at the evidence surrounding Lucas, that amounts to torture. The fact that she had to be wounded here, the fact that she claimed that she was injected, that could amount to torture. So it means that a federal prosecutor in the U.S. can exercise jurisdiction under the law that was used to prosecute Chucky Taylor. So that's the it. So the grounds are there. So if a U.S. court is prosecuting in the U.S., they're not going to be looking at the Liberian court. So that one thing you need to understand here. All right. When the U.S. is prosecuting Lucas, they're not going to be looking at the Liberian court. The only thing I know for sure is the prosecutor here will be using
all the public,
the lack of quality of the prosecution. He is going to, because he's an experienced prosecutor, he is going to use it to the letter, and you're going to see it. He's going to butcher it, and you will see it, and you will see it and say, "Oh wow, we didn't know that." That's the kind of incompetence we have facing the country. So there was so much incompetence work that was done in the case. So if the prosecutor here is on this case, the only thing he's going to do is he's going to look at the procedural errors. He's going to be looking at most of the things that the investigator did that were not right to make a strong case before the court in the U.S. here. And for me, I can just see it right there. Any lawyer can just see all right there and be able to move ahead. I really pray the Liberians in Iowa, you get to call the federal prosecutor in Iowa there and get the case before him. Put all of the facts before him, and let's see. You'll petition him and see what he would do.
Right. Okay, I have a question too, though. Yes. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yes, Mr. Bimba. There is this saying that a U.S. citizen cannot be tried outside of the U.S. But we see that Lucas was tried in Liberia.
It
How
depends on the
true?
crime.
How true is that statement?
That's not true.
Right.
U.S. citizens have been prosecuted in different countries. U.S. citizens have been prosecuted in Japan. They have been
Yeah.
prosecuted in how they call the place.
Russia.
I know
Russia.
Korea, and yeah. So that's first not true. And the reason why we have that mentality is because
Mhm.
of the same way we think. We have low self-esteem as a people. And we
Yeah.
always believe the US. Now, the
Yeah.
reason why the US have always had reservations is because of many of the jurisdictions not really having the proper procedure in place to carry on the trial. That is where the problem comes from. So they do not have much confidence in a lot of the foreign courts. All right.
Okay.
Except that in this particular case, it worked in the favor of their citizen.
Of the citizen.
Yeah,
Yes.
working in the favor of their citizen. He's a white guy. I'm sorry, he's a American guy, and he went before the court
last night. I said that last night.
Yeah, he has resources, which offering in Liberian system it's an advantage in the code there. All right, so we saw how it happened. All right, but if the Liberian court, the Liberian prosecutor had done a brilliant job that any U.S. prosecutor can see the work, they're not going to say anything. No, they're not going to stop it. They don't want to see you doing a brilliant job.
Right. So I have a question. Last night there was a gentleman, I wish he actually joined the show, but unfortunately he's not here. And he and I actually kept going back and forth. Right. So we talk about, there was two things, and I really want clarity on this. He said that one, we said there was witness tampering, and he said there wasn't such a thing. And he said that Lucas can be persecuted for an intent of murder. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said intent can be proven. Yes, it can. It was premeditated, because from what we, the public, have seen, right? One, we see where the Jessica, the victim, was actually interviewed, and she was talking about how the whole relationship started out and things that expire, right? And then to the point of all these things that happened, she was in a hospital. She was pregnant. He was trying to terminate the pregnancy. So I'm just trying to understand from a law standpoint, intent can be proven, right, based on the evidence that's presented, right?
So okay. All right. So whenever you use the word, whenever they tell you say attempted murder,
right,
that means we get what we call specific intent crimes. So there are crimes when you commit them, you must have a specific intent to cause that particular situation.
Right.
In this case here are some of the facts. Number one, the girl reported that she was injected by some substance by Lucas. All right. I think either day before or somewhere she said he injected her without consent. All right. So that's fact number one there. Fact number two, he told her, according to the story, if I recollect, they were driving somewhere or let it go somewhere, and then he pretended he was going to fix the tire.
Right.
All right. And in that instance, that's how he tried to hurt her. Right. So when you look at the facts there, he had a target. Yeah, that specific intent there. You understand?
There was a motive.
I would say it was premeditated.
The president is saying that I don't understand how specific intent crimes work. We have what specific intent crimes work, and attempt murder will fall under that. It's a specific intent a situation. So the president talking don't really know what they are really saying. They don't really understand how it worked. It was there, and I'm sorry that in this case the prosecutor was not up to the task. All right.
Right. I absolutely, I said that last night. I was like, he was not. So before we even go to this question, somebody's asked about DNA testing and all of that. I don't think Liberia is actually set up for that yet.
DNA testing. You don't need DNA testing in every case to prove a crime. All right.
Okay.
And I know that white people tell me, you don't need DNA testing always to prove a crime. Okay, but in this case, it happened broad day.
Right.
People went on the scene.
Mhm.
Are we there? They were interviewed. All right. So we've seen circumstantial evidence being used in the US here for murder, a very good justice system. So you don't need DNA. You don't need DNA in that incident. One of the important things I wanted to know is the weapon that was used.
The knife.
The knife that was used. Something went wrong. Something went wrong with that knife. Who were the officers that were on the scene? All of that information.
Right.
You prosecutor, you want to know that.
Right.
You see? And then besides that, an expert can look at the wound. He's claiming that the wound was caused by a motorbike accident. That's my understanding. That's what I'm understanding from what I learned. I hope to be corrected.
Mhm.
You get people that can look at the wound. They get wound experts, guys, man. You got wound experts. You don't need to come in Ghana. You can get Ghanaian expert in Nigeria. They'll tell you no. That was not a motorbike something. They'll tell you.
But a motorbike wound, I call it a motorbike wound, will not come under the neck. It will either be, on the surface of the body, or the face, and it will not come to your throat.
So a strong prosecutor, a real sound prosecutor, you know what to do, man. You should know what to do. You should know how to get that evidence, my guys. Guys, you have to look at the case. And I don't want anybody to look at me, and it's my opinion.
Right.
The tip with the defense lawyers trying to give the people 10,000. I'm putting you back to those facts.
Yeah.
The mother in studio telling you that even those that were representing her were trying to compromise the case. Guys, man, let's be honest here. You have to forget. You have to try and think for your country. Gotta be real here. Let's be real here. This was a compromise situation. If you bring any objective person and non-Liberian to even look at it, they'll tell you, "Why, guys? There's a problem here, guys."
There is clearly, and then my other question is, wouldn't that kids, and I think we discussed this last night, wouldn't this kids would have been Liberia, the people versus Lucas?
Yeah, the government of Liberia. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. So, a crime usually is usually against the state. This is why that's why you get prosecutor involved. This is not a civil matter.
Right. So in this case, why, and I'm trying to go back to what you said when you said that before I even ask that question. So I know the audience that we have, right? So based on what you said, the prosecutor did not prepare the witness.
From
I don't want to, what is that like? Like, what is preparing the witness?
So preparing the witness is more like you want to listen to you get the witness, the feedback. They'll give you feedback many times in the cases. There are certain witnesses you want to put forward.
Okay.
Certain witnesses you cannot put forward. All right.
Okay.
You also want to know whether anybody talked to the witnesses, anybody interfere with them. Did anybody went overnight to talk with some of the witnesses? Do you know anything of that? You ask those questions as a serious prosecutor. You want to know that. That's Liberia, guys. That's Liberia.
Yeah.
People go to your house. All right.
Right.
Did anybody intimidate you as a
intimidate you? Right.
Yeah. You want to know that as a prosecutor. You want to guarantee their safety. This is not a small case. No.
Right.
It's not a small case. So when you're hearing the judge say insufficiency of evidence, it raises a question about the work of the prosecutor.
Right.
Okay. Mr. Bimba.
Yeah.
Let me ask one last question really quick, please. I know Front Page Liberia said that Front Page Africa, I'm sorry, there was an appeal that got denied. So the victim wanted to appeal the verdict
to the
Supreme Court, and it got turned down. Why?
So in criminal cases, many times in Liberia, the defendant have more right to appeal the cases than the state.
Okay.
That's the problem here. That's the problem. And this is why And the concept here is that the state have a lot of resources to do proper investigation of the case. That is, the implicit belief. So when you are going against the state, the
Yeah,
government
but
Liberia,
Bimba, before you go further, let me just follow up on that, making a mention about the state.
Yeah.
In this case, was the state actually represented? It was that the state doing the prosecution, quote unquote, probably the word they want doing the prosecution based on the prosecuting side, because the defendant and because a crime was committed, especially when a crime is committed, not a civil matter, is against the state and a particular person who committed the crime. But looking at that particular case in Lucas versus Jessica, was the state actually involved?
Yeah, it's the state that prosecuted.
Yeah, was it actually involved?
Sounds snowing.
That's what I'm thinking.
When you say involved, what do you mean involved?
What, because you're talking about the state.
Was it the state versus?
Yeah.
Was it the state versus Lucas, or it was Jessica versus
when
Lucas?
You commit murder, when you commit murder, you commit manslaughter, attempt murder. It always between you and the state. That's how criminal law operates.
Okay.
Criminal law is not like, okay, for example, when you and your wife want to divorce, it will be between you and your wife. When you owe your landlord some money, it will be between you and your landlord. You understand that?
Yeah.
So
Right.
Plaintiff versus what? The defendant.
Yeah.
And when you commit crime, it will be between you, the state of New Jersey, versus Joel Bimba. Are we there? Because crime has to do with public interest. It's about preventing crime. The more crime you have in a society, what happens? The society get destabilized. Are we there? So that is why when you're training prosecutors to prosecute cases, they have to be people who are dedicated and ready to fight. Because the more crime, who investor want to go to Liberia when you see these kind of cases? You're not want to
definitely.
Who the tourists want to go to Liberia? A tourist going to Liberia who reads that kind of case and who is a lawyer, he's gonna laugh and laugh and laugh because he knows that, hey, I can go to the kind of place where the guys can do like this. That's why the role of the prosecutor is the assistant attorney general of the Republic of Liberia. That's what you are. Once you are prosecuting a case, you are representing the Minister of Justice of the Republic of Liberia. That's how powerful you are. So it's not a job to say, okay, you have to be playing here and there. No, it's a job that comes with a lot of burden, a lot of thinking.
Okay.
You have to be in charge of the investigators. You need to be telling them what to do. Because you understand the law and how they can gather the evidence. You have so much work to do as a prosecutor.
Okay.
What happened in this case? You got to listen to the case and know that, hey, this was just there's no strong prosecution there. And I'm saying it because if you tell me insufficient evidence, the prosecutor and the police, that's you. Or the burden on you.
Okay, I think I will soon be wrapping up because
we're about to wrap up really quick.
In the next 5 minutes, I have to take a call. So, but let me just ask this question. Let's go back to the issue of domestic violence issue, which you address. Everyone will talk and the Lucas issue. I'm a bit of disappointed when it comes to the entire prosecution that went on and women group in Liberia. I didn't see them in this case involved into it in totality as been happening to other women. Take the Rora Musu's case. You saw a group of women in the street. Take the former first lady case. Saw a group of women in the street, and a few other ladies issue when it comes to why are they not involved? Why did they only involved when it comes to certain brand name? That's why I didn't see the women totally involved into it.
That's a very good question. That's a good question, and that tells you how the advocacy is being done in the country. All right, there's inequality in how advocacy are being done, so you have I myself I really that was a big gap. You needed real protest from the time they decided to fire. It shocked me though. He's like, I didn't hear about the fire. To be frank, I don't know, guys. I didn't hear about the fire. It got into the verdict, and this was in my opinion, and I'm saying in my opinion, considering the tip with the defense lawyer trying to compromise the case, it was tactical. It was real design, because they know the active involvement of the public will put them in check, guys. That's what we get the public for. The public can also help. To be frank with you, in trials, public has a role to play. Because if the judge want to take a bribe, he said, how I want to do this? If the prosecutor want to be playing joke, he said, I don't want to do this. You get my point there?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it, man, guys.
There's one last
Joel,
question.
I want to ask. I want to ask this question because I'm leaving. Is so
River says U.S. is a different jurisdiction. When the trying case in the U.S. in the U.S. here, they are not going to be wasting time behind that. They're going to send the federal prosecutors in Liberia. You're going to get federal investigators going there. They're going to get the girl coming here. They're going to go there and gather their own evidence and reverse. You know how the thing works. They're not going to use Liberian evidence to the extent that you think they're going to use it that way. No, they'll do it under U.S. law. Chucky Taylor was tried here and found guilty. River says pro. And where did he commit the crime? In Liberia.
Okay.
That's the
Mr.
last one.
Bimba.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Mr. Bimba, we saw how the $100 million drugs case was compromised. And I believe that was also a criminal matter, correct?
Yeah, it was a criminal matter.
Okay. So that means the state lost that.
Yeah.
Every criminal case that goes to the court and the state lost it, a state of ground to lose confidence in the judicial system as a people and as and as an international body like the United Nations, and international community.
That's about it. In fact, that is one of the reasons why we have mob justice in Liberia as a problem. That way you have mob justice. That's why the people don't have trust in the courts. I'm not saying even in the US there are cases sometimes that normally, but you will see the analysis.
Yes.
You will see the depth and breadth of the case and know, okay, yeah, we can reason. The challenge in our system here is in most of the high profile cases involving money, and you are right, you know how it can end up.
Yeah.
The only one you will see a little attraction when there's a political interest interest out of the incumbent government or something. If you do a careful research, then you will see the kind of the way
like the Gloria like the Gloria Scott case.
Yeah, but for you to really see a real public case where the criminal justice system in Liberia really was vigilant, investigation was thorough, and real solid prosecution that led to a great change in the country. In the US, they make mistakes too. They do. But not to the extent they always do a review of the cases. They take a review. What went wrong? What happened? What can we improve on it? They do that every time, and then they work on it. We need that same consistency in taking a review, but you will not hear that. They will not do no review. You will not hear the prosecutor do any other thing, nothing else. That's how they'll just let the sleeping door lie. You see? And so over time, you are having these cases, So what it does is the rule of law, there's no trust in the system. There's no trust in the system. You see? It undermines the rule of law. And then when it undermines the rule of law, then you can't do tourism. You can't get good investment going to the country. You can't get real estate going in the country correctly. The real estate market will not go nowhere. The only people that will boom, maybe the few houses that are around Mamba Point and those areas that are around where US citizens and UN people can live. But the rest of the other on the other side, no security. So who the tourists want to go and go live in the communities there? They're not going there. You see? So it's a major. I know sometimes it look like like Jessica can look, but it's just something that's creating problem for the whole country. They will not be the first time. If we're not marrying, you may see the second, the third.
The repetition.
Yeah. So I have a question based on everything that's expired and just as an individual, as a Liberian, just watching it, I'm going to tell you, like, I was upset And one, I made a statement last night and I stand by it. I still believe, one, we Liberian always put other people first in our own interest. And I honestly believe, cut me wrong, but this is my opinion. I honestly believe because Lucas was white and he was in our country, it played a key role in expediting the whole process and trying to get this done as fast as possible. Because when I first heard this case, I thought it was gonna take longer, like maybe a year and a half or two, for them to actually sit before a judge to really get what really happened and gather things together. But then again, that's my opinion. But I just wanted to understand, like from your standpoint,
I said
why?
self discrimination. That's what I
Right,
said.
right, right,
Self
right.
discrimination.
Why isn't you will see in the U.S. in a case like this, right? That the public is so hot and heated about it. Why isn't the government? Nobody have ever said a statement or anything. Like why?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It tells you that we have normalized bad behavior. You know, when you normalize bad behavior, you become insensitive, even when there's an issue that really needs to be looked at. You see my point there? We are
Yeah.
insensitive. Yeah, we normalize bad behavior. Why do you have former war crime criminals still today holding positions in Liberia and they are working in the government? Why? Why are they still
Yeah.
making decisions today? Why?
Mhm.
Why do you think they make you? Why do you think if I commit crime in Liberia, I can move from here and go to Liberia and become a minister of justice? Why do you think that's possible in Liberia? I could become the speaker of the house in Liberia. Although I committed a crime in the US. Will you commit crime in Liberia, murder, and come here in the US government know you commit murder and you become speaker in their house here? Or you steal somebody something and they make you somebody in this country? Will you do that?
You're not even working human service.
Yes. You won't do that. You won't do that. So we've normalized bad behavior. And this is why one of the things I said one of the mistakes we made, and I know all people disagree. Right after the war, our failure to have actually established a war crime code, because my understanding was establishing the war crime code will come and help to break us from the past, set a precedent, a precedent that will make us a little bit say, wow, people were held accountable. And
Try to
then we
call it
can
like Sierra
use,
Leone did.
we can use that opportunity to even reform our constitution and make some other reforms and other changes. We missed that opportunity, and that's one regret I still have. And because we missed that opportunity, it is haunting us even up to now. Sierra Leone right nearby took the hard decision.
Right.
But you're not seeing any other warlords now holding keyboard position in Sierra Leone government. All the major actors, no, not at all.
No.
They are not major influencers like you have them in Liberia. You see, but the role models in Liberia are these guys who should be prosecuted. So at the end of the day, the system itself is still the same. So we fought the Civil War, but we did not really try to set a precedent that would have helped us to at least have that kind of closure and say, okay, yes, we can take a deep breath. Rwanda took the decision. Rwanda is moving forward. Kosovo, they took the decision. They are moving forward. But Liberia said, no, you're leading team here. We don't want
PRC.
Yes. And we missed that golden opportunity of the war crime code. I doubt whether we can have it. I know the new regime is trying their best, but as a lawyer, I doubt whether we can have a war crime code now. And here's my reason. Number one, for you to have a UN war crime code, it needs this UN Security Council backing. The UN Security Council will have to back you having a war crime code. And one of the elements they can look at, one of the things they look at in making that decision is whether the country is a threat to regional or world peace under the UN article. All right? They have to establish that. Now, right after the war, we had that situation. So it became the right time you had UN special representative in Liberia. You had Otto Porter. That was the time to make the case before the UN Security Council. That was the time to make the case. But almost 20 years later, you get, how do you call it? You get Ukraine war. You get a Middle East war. All those
Yeah.
wars need a UN Security Council attention. Would they be able to say, hey, let's go and look at this country that 20 years later that won a war crime code, let's give them a 300 or 400 million? I don't want to be pessimistic, but it will be a
Right.
difficult case to make. So that will require a lot of diplomacy. It needs diplomacy at the level of the U.S. government. It needs a real diplomacy to get the UN Security Council to say, hey, we're going to set up a war crime code in Liberia. But as a lawyer, it's a tough thing for them to do.
Right.
We are
Okay.
becoming the only country trying to do that way.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, that was
You
a
see?
really eye opener. Rev.Saye S,
I have to
I
leave,
think you
man.
missed
Thank you,
that.
guys. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Really
All right,
appreciate you.
Mr. Bimba. Thank
Hopefully,
you very
whenever
much.
you have time, you're welcome to come on. Okay.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Really
I appreciate
appreciate
you
it.
guys. All
Thank
right.
you so much. And
Wow.
wow, that was amazing, man. You make some move, man. That was good. That was good. That was good. Thank you so much, Jimmy, for bringing our brother on here. Um, Definitely, everything he said. That's exactly where my mind was going with this case, and I don't know what does this mean for the Liberian people. What step are the government taking? I think what would have brought a little closer, even though it wouldn't help, I think if somebody from higher power would have stood up and say something, you know, about what's happening, especially this case.
You
I
you
think,
you 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 couldn't. Someone from the executive could not come out and say
yeah,
anything about it. The reason is that the executive have done its work already through the national police, and they are
So,
apprehended the
so
person.
there's
In that case, the executive could not go interfere with the judiciary matter,
the
because we
legislative.
have three separate and distinct branches of government. So the executive, through the Ministry of Justice, have done his work already by apprehending the guy, took him to the law, the police took statement from him, and then they forwarded him to court. So the judiciary was there now to do his own work. Judiciary apply her own rule already. So the executive wouldn't come out and say, look, what you did, it was not a correct thing. That would be interfering with the judiciary
no, no,
system.
no. I don't mean for them to do that. I'm just saying,
All right,
I
guys.
guess I.
I
All
gotta
right.
go.
Yeah,
So
Okay.
Marcel need to go too. I just thought to
yeah.
get that thing, but I mean,
One
that's a
second before you go, I have to correct this. I just thought that this government, right? Somebody, okay, I'm just gonna say the president. I guess I'm spoiled in the U.S. when things like this happen and the public are so routed up about it. The government, somebody's gonna come out and give a speech about what's happening in the country to just bring peace in that moment. I guess my expectation is too high, but I believe if the president, especially starting out, someone would have said something and just, it would say it would give a bigger message, in my opinion. I just feel
So
that in my spirit.
Adequate, here is what I see. There will be no statement from the government because it was the government that prosecuted the matter and lost it, and lost it.
Not that
So,
specific case, just in general of everything that's happening.
well, I think this new government have tried to have regular press briefing, and I call it telling the public, speaking on some of those things and stuff like that. But like on the issue of what happens at the court and stuff like that, the executive will usually not speak to it. But on other national issues of concern, they have been really providing clarity, lot of clarity, and a lot of information through the presidential press secretary and also through the information ministry. All right.
Okay.
So yeah. So yeah, and I certainly agree with you. That is what is done here in the U.S. every time there is some issue of I call it, public outcry, the either the state government will speak to it, or the federal government will speak to it. Yeah, but we don't find that a lot in happening in Africa, especially our home, and that is sad. But I think the discussion tonight, our guests really pu- put us uh, um on a real good stage to understand what went wrong, what were the errors, in the case, what
Yeah.
the prosecutor would have done, in the interest of Jessica, that they didn't do, and all of that, and what they can still do, you know,
Right.
yeah, what they could still do, he brought out those points, and the boy is now in the court, still in the court of the prosecutor. They can raise those concerns, how they call it, on the audio, and I believe they will get something out of it. And also, the citizen in Iowa, where Lucas, lives, the Liberian citizen. If we have a strong Liberian citizen, or organization in Iowa,
Right.
they can reach out to their federal prosecutor and raise the issue with them. There are a lot of evidences, on this case, all on, on the social media, in both print and news media, stuff like that. I believe Lucas can still be persecuted, and justice can be served to Jessica. And that justice will not only be for Jessica, it will be for every other women. It will
Right.
protect, it will serve as a precedent that you can't leave from here, go out there and abuse our people and come back and live a fabulous life, live a happy life, while they stay there and and live with the scars on their hearts, and for the rest of their life. You see? So I think the Liberian community here need to stand up and stay fight Lucas. There is still hope. Only if Liberian here can stand up and fight.
Right. And River says Pro said bringing a legal. He said he still have reservation. I'm not sure where those are. But we started
Let
the
me put
show
it.
exactly by 8:35 ish. But I mean, I think
All
your
right.
reservation is from I don't know what it is,
Okay.
but you can type it in the comment section. All
I
right,
gotta
thank you
go.
so much, Jimmy. I really appreciate you being on.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you.
man, this case. Wow, guys, that was amazing to have someone who understand the Liberia justice system and brought us some light. Shout out to um, your Honor, Joel Bimba, for being on. Hopefully, we can see him on here a little bit more. But I just want to say, what does this mean for women? Why is the women in Liberia was not supported? This is something that we really have to think about. What society are we building? And I hope River Sessions Pro said the Liberian Iowa need to be careful. They should not try confronting that man on his church up. Right. I mean, they got to do it the right way, encouraging people to actually. So they're not the one who's going to. They have to file a complaint, too, as our brother Joel said. They have to file a complaint. They cannot go to the church and try to do protests and all of that. You have to fight the fight in good faith, where you're not being rowdy, you're not causing problem and protesting and doing these things. Not I'm stopping people from protesting, but you got to do it in an intelligent way and the proper way to do it. So let's just say it was uh um I don't know. I feel like this case, the verdicts, and I just feel like not everyone that, like, in cases like this, everyone shouldn't be representing the defendant, the plaintiff. So the persecutor they should have really vetted and did their due diligence in order to pick who was going to be representing, um, who was going to be the persecutor, like our guest said. And Liberian really, 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 this cases like this to me really shows that we have a very, very long way to go. And um, why do you think was the lack of support from huge and important sector of women's society in Liberia? Well, I don't know. I don't live in Liberia, but from things that I watch and see, I think certain cases people are passionate based on self-interest. That is just my opinion. I think it's based on self-interest, and when people are interested in certain things, that's when they put it up front. As a Liberian, just watching those, I think just gaining publicity of it. That's it. And I feel like they were probably intimidated because of. I hate to say it. I think they were intimidated by the person that they were against, and I don't know how true that is, but I just feel like that played a role into it. You know, I can't prove it, but I just feel like because of who Lucas is and where he's from, it played a role into all of this. Tell me I'm lying or I'm being emotional, but I just feel like that there's a hunch in me that just said that played a key role into what happened. And sad, sad, but I hope in some way that justice is served. You guys heard it. You can appeal. You can request for the case to be looked into in the US. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for supporting us always. And hopefully you learn a thing or two, like myself and the rest of it. Want to say shout out to Jimmy for bringing us our first guest ever on the show. And also, thank you guys also in the comment section for being so engaging. We appreciate all your time and your support on this show. And hopefully, we can. Um, so River says, bro, he says, seriously, Fee, in the 21st century, are we still intimidated by an ordinary? You know, because you live in the US, is in my opinion, because we're in the US and we see that and we're familiarized with it. But yeah, I honestly believe people are intimidated by that still. People still have different outlook, especially people who haven't traveled, you know, and even people that have traveled. I think it's just people not understanding the justice system, how it works in general. I think there are, and I don't know. I'm just disappointed in how this ended because that could be one of my family members. How is that gonna go? That could be. And as I was just sitting here, I'm like, this is when you create a foundation for. You know. Anyways, I'm overthinking myself, but yeah, where was this, bro? People are still scared. People are still intimidated by that. People who are not very knowledgeable and people who don't have the influence. I think they are intimidated. And as crazy as it sounds, I honestly believe that persecutor and the defendant lawyer, they had an arrangement. But then again, that's my opinion. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I am going to end that right here. We will see you here next week, same time. Make sure you share this show. If you have not ever, ever, ever share it or have anybody watch, I think we have many shows that are really good, but I think this was a really good one and a really nice eye opener. But yeah, thank you. Have a great night. I send you guys blessings into the world. Have a great week, and we will see you here, same time, same place next week. Happy birthday to Rev.Saye S, Pency, who was on the show earlier. I know it's late in Liberia, but I hope you had a blessed and enjoyable day. All right, talk to you guys. See you later. Bye. All right.